in a cribbage kind of way. Hey, hi, it's me, Wilma Fingerdoo, with the Fingerdoo review of RuPaul's Drag Race UK Season 3, Episode 6. Whoa, we're almost done. And before we get to it, I got a few announcements to make. First of all, I got myself one of Denise Journaux's Rainbow Railroad tees. This is the design. This is on, I'm going to hold this up. I know, it's a total eclipse of the heart, right? I ordered this when I first announced this design's availability, and it got to me within just over a week. I was very impressed with that. So just a reminder, all of the proceeds for this design will be going to the Rainbow Railroad directly, whether it's on a mug, a magnet, a cup, a duvet. I don't know what the heck I said you could get it all on. If there's something you'd like to get it on and it's not there, message me on YouTube and I will see if it's available and make it available to you. So serious. And if you're interested in shopping the Denise Journaux Rainbow Railroad Fundraising Illustration, the link for that is down below in the description box. Speaking of illustrations, this is Denise's recent t-shirt design. This is Fingerdoo. I know that it's too late for Halloween, but you know, Halloween is more of a state of mind these days than an actual time of year. But that's the other Denise Journaux design. Again, the link to my Redbubble store is down below in the description box. And before we get started, I do want to thank some people. First of all, my latest Patreoner joining the Fingerdoo family over on Patreon, where we have 2 live chats a month. If you want information about Patreon, it's down below. But welcome to Malcolm Hope. Thank you so much for joining us, Malcolm. I look forward to you at the next chat. Also, I got tipper-doos. Tipper-doos, yes, this isn't a bar, but if you feel like throwing a tipper-doo at your old gal, you can do it through my PayPal account, which is linked down below as well. And I'd like to thank Derek, Tim Eller, and my regular Vito for doing just that. Boys, thank you so much. You know I appreciate it more than I can say. And finally, speaking of Redbubble, my Redbubble shop, I like to highlight people who sport a tee, a mug, a magnet, whatever they bought. And Zotai is my latest Redbubble model. They got the 50-foot Wilma tee and the Candy Witch mask, which I thought was a great way to dress up to vote in Georgia. I'm assuming that's what Zotai has, that Vote Georgia sticker. Otherwise, she's voting for Georgia, and she's a peach. I really wasn't paying attention to the picture. But either way, Zotai, thank you so much for shopping. I hope you love them as much as I love you wearing them. Seriously. Now, Jorge, drink me. Well, why the coffee? Oh, yeah, you're right. I do need it. First of all, let me say, this is my 3rd time recording this. I thought I would be very adventurous last night, and I started getting ready at about 5, and by 7 I was ready to go. No, 8:30 I was ready to go, and I was still filming at 11. I had issues. There were some exposure issues with my last video with Wilhelmina box farts, and so I was trying to address all that, and I just finally said, that's it. Took my eyelashes off and went to bed. So this is my 3rd time doing this. I'm a little tired. So Jorge made me a very, very strong cup of coffee in my my venti cup, which is still too small. Let me tell you what. But let me tell you, the thing that's making this extra delicious is Steinhardt Distillery's Coffee Maple. This was sent to me by John Dwyer. He also sent me my Lady Grey tea. As you can see, I'm cutting right through it. I'm drinking that like it's going out of style. But Steinhardt is a fabulous distillery in Antigonish, Nova Scotia. Yes, that's a real place. And they also do the gin that I've been drinking and the strawberry vodka. You can go to their website and check out what they have to offer. I don't think they ship internationally, but they do ship across Canada, and that link is down below as well. So thanks, John. Thanks, Steinhardt, and thank you, Jorge. Seriously. Okay, so let's get to it. The Queens and a very bedraggled Scarlett bid Charity Case a quick farewell. Clearly, Scarlett was over it. Having River Medway ask if anyone thought Charity should have gone home didn't help. In fact, it worried a few of the queens that it would set Scarlett off again, but in Scarlett's defense, most of the queens felt she'd legitimately won that lip sync. River implied that it was more of a tie because they both poured their hearts into that performance, which is a polite way of saying River thought Charity won that. I'm just saying. Of course, that didn't stop Scarlett from rehashing some of the issues that were brought up last week. I'm confused as to how Scarlett thought Charity was doing the moping around, though. I mean, Charity wasn't the one who stormed off out of the Untucked lounge, I'm just saying. Ella even tried to smooth things over, but was interrupted by Scarlett again. And when she asked Scarlett to let her finish, Scarlett just seemed to get more irritated because it brought up the conversation that had her storming out of the workplace last week in the first place. Kitty asked if anyone had been worried that they might have landed in the bottom, and Choriza admitted that she was glad that her humor got her through, even if her runway didn't. Then Vanity had a quick, shady question. She asked Choriza if she thought her comedy would always get her through the competition. Choriza seemed to not feel shaded when she told Vanity that it had gotten her this far, and then threw the shade back at Vanity by asking her if she could possibly learn a little something from her comedy. Ooh. Obviously, Vanity could see Choriza was unflappable, so she went back at Scarlett and her alleged one talent. Well, before anyone's eyes could get scratched out, Crystal announced that it was time they all got out of drag. Yep, halfway through the competition and everyone's in a fighting mood. At least we're on schedule. The next day, the queens entered the workroom doing the conga, but it was clearly a veneer of happiness. One misplaced side-eye and they'd be back at it for sure. Kitty at least seemed genuinely pleased to have made it to week 6, even if she did throw some single talent shade at Vanity. Who else was glad Kitty pointed out that they were still waiting to see Vanity's one single talent? Just me? Ella asked Scarlett how she was doing, probably because production asked her to, because we all could see she was doing the same. And she said as much when she said she's prepared to fight on her own for the rest of the competition, and proved it by fighting with Crystal right then and there. What I found funny was Scarlett's inability to see that all the queens had the same opinion of her and wouldn't take any ownership over that. I mean, one person calling you moody and aggressive is an opinion. Everyone's saying it. Well, that's the news. Seriously. Kitty even started yelling, but it was for a long-awaited badge. She didn't give a toss about those two bickering queens. Rightly so. Thank God Rue's video message broke it up. I know I needed a break. Rue's message this week was all about impersonations and a few quotes from Cher, and, well, that's all the queens needed. They knew it was time for Snatch Game, and, for the most part, they all seemed super excited, especially when Rue arrived with this week's mini challenge. Yes, children of the corn, the library was open because reading is what? Fundamental. Scarlett looked pleased. Choriza was first, and even with her language barrier, and by that I mean meaty tuck, she cut all those queens. Her misreads to Crystal that were actually reads for other queens was hilarious. Vanity was next, and, well, that was a shame. She did get one good one out at Scarlett's expense, but that was only after Scarlett clapped back at one of her failed reads, bless. River did all right. Her read of Choriza was more of an observation about her meaty tuck, but her pausing before reading Scarlett in case Scarlett wanted to interrupt her was brilliant. Crystal wasn't particularly clever with her reads, but she certainly was mean. I'm starting to feel her episode 2 supermarket price tag challenge wasn't as innocent as she led us on to believe, just saying. Ella did well, but I think everyone was just stunned to hear her speaking up, never mind what she was saying. Scarlett did pretty much what I thought she would. She made all her reads personal, which is a nice way of saying they weren't all that funny. Kitty seemed to be in it for the laughs. Oh, and the insults. But when the library was closed, officially, it was Choriza May who was declared the winner, and but then it was time for this week's Maxi Challenge, Snatch Game! The queens were thrilled. Well, everyone except Ella. I thought she looked like she was going to throw up. Right away, the queens started working on their characters as Rue met with them one-on-one to talk about their choices. Choriza May was first, and her choice was the recently deceased Margarita Pracatan, a Cuban singer who appeared regularly on the Clive James show in Britain in the 90s. Rue seemed pleased with Choriza's choice, but suggested it would be funnier to see her do someone like Cher. I don't know. After a few moments of Choriza's Cher, I wasn't laughing. Ella was next, and when she announced that she was going to do Mystic Meg, Ru asked what other choices she had. I think that was code for Ru saying she wasn't feeling the Mystic. Ella did a bit of her Nigella Lawson, and that seemed to go over way better with Ru, and that's all Ella needed to tell Meg to move over. But I feel she sensed that. Scarlett was up next, and her choice was Danny Dwyer, but Ru seemed way more interested in asking Scarlett about how tough the last couple of weeks had been for her. After she had rehashed the issues, Ru said she was seeing a lot of Tilda Swinton in Scarlett's mannerisms. Scarlett said she gets that a lot. Well, that and Macaulay Culkin, which she then showed Ru. I have to say, as funny as Ru thought that was, doing a character with only one signature move seemed to be a big ask, if you ask me. Oh, you're right, no one did ask me. Kitty was next, and she was going to play Celia Black's Teeth. Ru was surprised that Kitty wasn't going to do Gemma Collins, but in her defense, Kitty was avoiding Gemma because Cheryl Holt did her season 1. Heck, she even borrowed Kitty's wig to do it. Just saying. River's choice was Amy Childs, who was also on The Only Way is Essex with Gemma. That seemed to prick up the other queen's ears. After going through her other choices, Ru didn't try to change River's mind, but she did take a moment to remind her that she's very funny, she has tons of potential, and she wanted to see it all in the Snatch game. Or wanted to see her Snatch. I really wasn't paying attention. And then it was on to the Snatch game with celebrity contestants Nadine Coyle from Girls Aloud and Judy Love from Loose Women. I have to say, this was not a good Snatch game for me. Somehow I expected more, especially from Kitty and Choriza. Now, I'm not saying that Kitty did a bad job, but she just didn't make me laugh, and I don't know why Kitty's Gemma was so aggressive towards River's Amy Childs. I was under the impression that they were friends, but then I've not ever really watched Towie, so who knows? Teresa May's Margarita Praketan, on the other hand, did make me laugh off the top, but she either got bored or tired because she quickly became less and less entertaining as the show went on. Vanity looked good, but she really didn't have anything funny to say. The same was true with Crystal, who I would never have recognized in that outfit. Seriously. I also thought I was going to like Scarlett's Macaulay Culkin a lot less, but I have to say, I was impressed with how much humor she got out of that one-note impersonation. Here's the Scarlett, seriously. The only standout on the panel was Ella Vidae. Even though I actually didn't like her Nigella Lawson, she was completely committed to what she was doing and always had something to say in response to whomever. So here's to Ella. Well done. The next day in the work, what? Oh, River Medway. I forgot to talk about River's Amy Childs. Well, to be honest, I forgot she was even in the Snatch game, which kind of says it all right there, bless. The next day in the workroom, as the queens got ready for the runway, they shared coming out stories. Vanity said that her parents knew before she did, which I think is a very common experience. Kitty was like me. She didn't have to come out. It was obvious what was going on with her, but unlike me, her parents were very supportive and understanding. Choriza shocked the room when she said she came out to her parents when she was 11. What was sad about that was how her father distanced himself from her because of that. Choriza got quite emotional talking about it, but she assured us that they're both in a better place now. Bless. Crystal's father had a bigger problem with his son wearing makeup than being gay, but they've seemed to bond over Drag Race, which is lovely to hear. River came out at 15, but had problems coming to terms with it herself. Scarlett had a hard time coming to terms with it as well. She was so careful with how she acted around people to minimize the bullying. Ella's story was interesting because she worried about how her family would react, so she went out of her way to not be gay so her parents wouldn't be ashamed. But when she did finally come out, her parents were nothing but supportive, so she'd worried about it for nothing. Just goes to show you, parents are people too, especially the good ones. And then it was time for the runway, and all I have to say about Ru's outfit was if it was coming down the runway on anyone else but her, Michelle would have read her for filth. That was the ugliest outfit Ru's worn on the show ever. Tell me I'm wrong. Speaking of Michelle, I don't know what the hell was going on with her either. I'm not saying I hated this look, I just didn't like it on her. A braided pony makes me nervous. Probably because it was my drag queen name in high school. Graham Norton was back looking gorgeous in a Lurex jacket, and joining them this week, British entertainment legend and icon, Lulu. Category is Feelin' Fruity. First down the catwalk was Chiritza May, who was wearing a peach as a a peach as a hat. I thought this was a fun way to start the runway, and I gave her a Fingerdoo. Right up the peach. You heard me. Crystal was dressed like it was episode 3 all over again. Am I wrong? I mean, wasn't that the corset that she covered for the Unconventional Materials Challenge? Because, except for the color, they look exactly the same. Apparently, this time, she was saying that a unitard and corset is dragon fruit. Well, I could see that, but I'm getting bored of her runway and had to give her a finger don't. Seriously, is that the only look she has? Scarlett was next, and the only thing that said lime about this look was the color. I just hated it. It totally swallowed her up. I agree with Graham. It looked more like lettuce than a lime. I mean, it certainly wasn't fruity. And what was with all that stomping she did across the catwalk? She looked like she was on her way to complain to the manager. Just me? I appreciate that River made her catwalk creation, but she shouldn't have. It was awful. It looked more like a craft project. And was brown the only color she could get for the bowl? Seriously. The only thing I liked was the strawberry in her hair, but still, that wasn't enough for me to give her anything more than a finger don't. Seriously. Ella was next, and her luscious watermelon ensemble was fabulous. I think this is the best she's looked on that runway all season, so Fingerdoo for Ella. I wasn't a fan of Vanity's runway either. It was a nice outfit without the hair hat, and, well, that hair hat was the only fruity thing about the look, so I had to give her a finger don't as well. Lastly was Kitty Scott Claus, who was serving a wild strawberry fantasy. I still didn't know about all those veins on her tits, but I still gave this look a Fingerdoo. Seriously. None of the queens were safe this week, so we went directly to the judges' critiques. Chiritza May was first, and everyone loved her runway, but as for her Snatch game, Graham thought she ran out of steam. Ru felt Chiritza didn't take her character beyond the obvious. Obviously what? Crystal was next, and Michelle was impressed with how much she let herself go in the character for Snatch game. Graham felt her choice of character made it hard to be funny because it was someone else's creation and joke. As for her runway, though, Michelle called her out for wearing the exact same thing she always does, at least since the Unconventional Materials Challenge anyway. Finally, Graham made a good point. If he'd never seen Crystal before, he would have been impressed. But since she set such a high bar for herself and worn almost the same thing down the runway 6 times, he was starting to get bored. And I, for one, agree. Scarlett was next, and although Michelle enjoyed her Macaulay Culkin, sounds rude, she wasn't a fan of her runway. Neither was Lulu, who said she looked like wet lettuce, which was nobody's name in high school, just saying. River was next, and Michelle felt her April Childs was just a regurgitation of catchphrases from seasons 1 of 2 of Towie. Lulu said River's problem was that everyone else was just that little bit more on it than she was. As for her runway, Michelle thought it looked too crafty, while Lulu argued that that brown shape was not a bowl, it was an upside-down umbrella. Well, and she wasn't wrong. Ella Vidae was next and was clearly a judge's favorite. Michelle was very pleased with her Nigella Lawson, not just because she got all her references down, but because she made Ru laugh. Graham was impressed that she didn't take the innuendos too far. Well, speak for yourself, Graham. All the judges loved Ella's runway, though, and Ru said that if anyone ever wants to know how to do a Snatch game, Ella's performance was it. Seriously. Vanity was next, and Michelle felt she had the same problem Crystal did, playing someone else's character. As for her runway, the biggest critique the judges gave Vanity was that it was too simple. Seriously. Last but not least was Kitty Scott Claus. Everyone was impressed by her Gemma Collins, but Michelle wanted to know why her runway had veins. But Ru didn't seem to care. She thought it was gorgeous. I guess that explains why Ru's wearing that dress this week. And with that, the queens frigged off to the Untucked lounge. Kitty, for one, was thrilled with her feedback, as was Ella, and rightly so. Chiritza was upset that the judges weren't impressed with her this week. River wasn't thrilled either, but she was convinced that she could bounce back from it. Crystal was worried too. It was her first time not getting praise in her critique, although That comment from Ru should have kept her feeling calm, if you ask me, just saying. Scarlett wasn't feeling too worried, but what was nice was all the other queens apologizing for their comments last week. It seemed to heal some wounds for our Miss Scarlett. Back on the main stage, I don't think it was a surprise to anyone that this week's winner was Ella Vidae. Okay, maybe Kitty was surprised, but that's her deal. Landing in the bottom this week was two of my faves, Choriza May and River Medway. They lip-synced to Lulu's cover of the Isley Brothers' original hit, Shout. I have to say, I was expecting more from Choriza. I understand why she took off her peach hat, but why that wig underneath wasn't attached to her head, I'll never know. She fought so much to keep it on her head that it totally affected her performance. As for River, I thought she did okay. It wasn't great. In fact, I thought she did a better job because of how awkward Choriza was. I only wish River had been wearing pants under that upside-down umbrella, because when she took it off, well, she looked naked. Seriously. One thing that was true was Ru did not look pleased when this was all over. She said she needed to see more out of the lip sync, and because she didn't, well, they both had to sashay away. Well, everyone was shocked. Well, mostly River and Choriza. Lord knows I gagged. Well, what do you think? Was that a double sachet lip sync or just more orchestrated drama from the production team? Did Crystal dodge a bullet? Is Vanity coasting? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. And while you're down there, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't. And check out my links to becoming a Tipperdoo, joining me on Patreon, or for my Redbubble store. Until next week, miss me! Mwah! Seriously. I'm shocked. I can't believe that was a double sachet. I mean, if I had to pick somebody to go home out of that, I would have to say Choriza. She just, that wig was like a malfunction, and it really distracted her through the whole thing. And what's going on with Vanity and Crystal? Seriously, they set their bar episode 1 and have done very little to improve upon it. I mean, I'm so glad that Crystal got called out for looking the same every week, because, well, she does. But Vanity, I don't know, in the Meet the Queens, she was so full of confidence and so sure that she was going to knock everyone out. But then you have to remember, she's only been doing drag for 2 years, so her skill set may not be there yet. Her outfits are okay. They're not the worst. Well, now that River's gone, maybe they are. I don't know. And Ella now has 2 badges. God, what that must be doing to Kitty is anybody's guess. I wouldn't want to stand in front of her on a flight of stairs, I'm just saying. Or near her if she's wearing pearls.